YouTube sensation whose videos shock us all, but it makes us laugh. From the famous Sierra to Beyonce to even Michael Jackson with his tea in the shade. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Matt.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Um,
About how you came up with the persona This Is Matt, because we all know you have rapping and you also have YouTube. But how did you come up with the name This Is Matt? What was This Is Matt's childhood like for him to become who he is today?
well, do you want me to? Well, I'll tell you
Answer
how
both.
I came up with the name, but then I'll tell you about me, basically. Well, my last name is Mack, and I don't know, in my family, like certain people, like my mom, my brother, my grandmother, and my grandfather, and who else? Well, I have to say my cousins. I have a few cousins too. They actually, when we get to a certain age, like probably, okay, when you're going through like, you know, preschool and you're going all the way up to like elementary and probably middle school, they call you by your first name, which, I've been going by Keon, the whole time. But it's like when you started, I guess, reaching puberty and getting into your zone where you're, think you're an adult, like you don't just call yourself Mac. People just start going that way. Like they just start calling you, hey, Mac, what's up? Because I went from Lil Mac. They was calling, like, my mother's friends will call her Mac. And, the same thing, like when I used to go to my grandmother's house when I was younger, her friends was like, hey, Mac, come here. No, check this out, Mac. And I was like, man, I always wanted that. I was like, when are people going to call me Mac? So I tried to start that up, but that didn't really work out. And it just came to me, like, people were like, love Mac. And that was like people who, like my brother's friends would call me Lil Mac, but they still call him Mac. And, so I guess people around my age kept hearing them call me Lil Mac. So, if you're 13 and they're 13, they're not going to call you Lil Mac. They're going to call you Mac. So it kind of just got to that point. So people just kept calling me Mac, Mac, Mac. So then Mac got real popular. And I realized everyone in my family gets that privilege. But I'm like, it was probably about, I'd say about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. I was on 50 Cent's website. And his website is called This Is 50. And I was like, I like, because I don't really like 50 Cent, but I like him because he's one of those guys, when he wants something, he get it or he take it. And I got ambitions like that. Like, my ambitions is very high. So I do have respect for him. Don't like him, but I do have respect for what he does. And I was like, I like that because it tells you this is 50. Like, whatever you see from now on or whatever you see under this name, it's who I am. That's how I look at it. Maybe other people would look at it differently, but that's how I look at it. So I said, okay. I think This Is Mack would be good because I was looking for a Twitter name, actually. My first Twitter name, I had that as a contest on my YouTube at one point. And I was like, if anyone can guess my first Twitter name ever, I would give them, I forgot what it was about, poor thing, but somebody won it and I gave it to them or whatever. But the question was, no, matter of fact, it was whoever guessed it right would get a shout-out in my next video. And, probably be from the famous Sierra or Beyonce or whatever that may be. But no one could guess it. No one could guess it, And I was like, my first Twitter name was actually my whole name, Keon Mack. And no one could guess that. And I think I gave that question out on my Facebook, which my name is Keon Mack. And I'm like, people are so crazy. Somebody came close and it was like Keon Mack 12. I'm like, what? Where the hell you get 12 from? So, I don't know. So, This Is Mack is where I caught on to it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick with this. I like it. It's, just looking at it, it looks catchy. And I was like, if it don't look catchy, I'm going to make it look catchy. So either way. So, yeah, that's what happened with that. That's how I got the name, and that's how, my ambitions come from that as well. So, unless you want to go deeper into it, which you're going to have to ask questions about that.
We can go deeper on this interview on the first part. But before we do get deeper into the name, let's find out a little bit more about you. Now, I remember when we were trying to set the interview, because we were trying to set it up for Monday, but couldn't do it on Monday because of wrestling and the fight, the Holy Grail day. So, are you an avid wrestling fan?
I'm 29 years old, which some people don't realize I'm 29, because they were like, you look so much younger than, people always say I look like 24, something like that. Some even went younger than that. Because funny thing, well, I'm one of those type of people, when you ask me a question, I'm going to go deep into a story. That's why I said you're going to need like 2-3 parts of this, because it brings me back to, I'm pretty sure you know of the Scorpion, Kevin Simmons.
Yes.
From the Scorpion show? Okay, well, me and him had chat on the phone at one point, and Kevin, I think he's about to turn 27, if I'm not mistaken, or 28, one of those.
28.
28, okay. And we were chatting, and he was like, how old are you? And I said, 20. I said, 29. Like, what? I said, yeah. He said, I thought I was older than you. I'm like, no, and I get that a lot. But, I was born in 82, and when I turned 2 years old, my stepdad introduced me to WWF and WCW, WWF, which is WWE now. But, he introduced me to all that, and I fell in love with Sting and the Ric Flairs and stuff like that, which that's something that also defined me. I don't like to be like everyone else. As you can tell, my YouTube is so different from anything else you ever seen, and you probably see stuff similar to it, but that's after I created what I did, because I don't like to be like other people. I don't like to get that feeling. Like when I first came on, like if you go deep down into my first videos, like when I was doing my own blogs, you would see me doing shows and like, you seem like every other YouTuber. And then I had like a co-host at one point, and I felt the Scorpion Show type thing. I'm like, okay, and now I feel like I'm acting like that. I'm like, I don't like this. So I sat there and I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, see, I'm getting all off topic. We were talking about wrestling.
It's okay. It's okay.
That's how I do. You got to work with me. That's how I come up with crazy ideas. So, my roots would go like 8 different directions, but it'll all come back to one. But, so I was just, matter of fact, I'm not even going to tell this story yet because YouTube is part 2, right?
Yes, it is.
So, anyway. But me and Kevin was talking, and I thought he was just talking about wrestling just for, views, like, hey, everyone's talking about wrestling, so let me add this. But he actually know his history. And I was like, wow. He predicted that The Rock was coming back at SummerSlam. Not SummerSlam, Survivor Series. And I was like, you got a point, So that was kind of impressive. I don't really run into people who actually look at wrestling like I do. And I've been looking at wrestling since I was 2 years old, which means I've been looking at wrestling for 27 years now. So I've seen every era. I've seen the Shotgun Saturday Night era. I've seen the Hulkamania era. Yeah, I've seen the Attitude era, the NWO era, the Four Horsemen's era, the Nation of Domination. I've seen all that, but I fell in love with Sting because, he had the paint on his face, and every kid loved Sting at that point. But I also like Ric Flair because he was so flashy. And I was like, man, I like that. Like, he's flashy with it, and he got all these phrases, you know, to beat a man, got to beat the man, and woo, all that crap. I was like, man, I like it. But I never was a Hulk Hogan fan. And everybody loved Hulk Hogan. I wasn't a Hulk Hogan fan because he just seemed so guaranteed. Like he was going to guarantee win every damn match, basically. And I didn't like that because it wasn't a brain teaser. So every time I run into somebody, you know, when we used to play wrestling, you know, cut out the cardboard wrestling titles and all that, and put the Renish wrap around it, and yeah. So when we used to do that, everybody, I'm Sting, and everybody fussing, who's Sting, who's Ric Flair, who's Hulk Hogan, who's the Ultimate Warrior. So I set my mind on. Now remind me, I'm about 6 years old now. My mind was already set. Next time I watch wrestling, pick someone that nobody fusses about. Now, I know you're probably thinking at the age we are now, well, that's typical. But at 6 years old, what 6-year-old think of that? You know what I mean? So I was watching WCW Saturday Night, and I seen the Steiner brothers come out. And I was like, let's see about this. And the crowd loved them, and I started liking them once I started seeing the belly-to-belly suplexes and the clotheslines they were doing, and then when Scott Steiner used to do the Frankensteiner. And I fell in love with Scott Steiner. And till this day, people